Hola a todos, bienvenidos to the Mari Cullen Show. Today in the studio we have Tom J. Dolan, host of Performance of Speaking on YouTube. Tom has been a voiceover as well as an actor in films, artist for years, and public speaking. From Tokyo, Japan to LA to now in Austin, Texas.
What we are witnessing here is the return of Titans.
How many of these things are there?
17 and counting.
That's messed up.
Mothra, Rodan, Ghidorah.
Oh my. They're moving like a pack. They're hunting. They all respond directly to an alpha. We stop this Ghidorah. We stop them all.
Is there another creature that might stand a chance against him?
My God, Zilla.
Our planet will perish, and so will we. Unless we set Godzilla free.
Oh, yeah, sure. Let's bring him in for a beer. No, this time we join the fight.
Run.
This is Godzilla's world. We just live in it.
Damn right.
Hi, Tom.
Hey, Mary.
Welcome to the Mari Cullen Show. How you been and what's been going on?
Oh, I've been surviving locked in my apartment. How about you?
Well, I'm same. Just focus on working and do my show via Zoom, Instagram, or YouTube, like everybody's doing now. Is the new fashion, taking care. You know.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I have to learn to do Zoom for my future projects also. Looks like it's the way forward is to Zoom.
Everybody's doing it now. Yes. Tell me more about projects going on.
Well, basically what I'm doing right now is learning to do Zoom and to incorporate that into new training program I'm developing. You know, I've been doing voiceover and on-camera acting for a long time, but I learned, well, it's a whole story, but to shorten the story, I learned that many people, in fact, number one fear of Americans is fear of public speaking. So that captured my attention, and to shorten that story, I became developer of public speaking teaching programs. And when I was in LA, I taught school at night school in some local colleges. And during the daytime, I was the voiceover slash actor kind of person. And so that's basically what I put those two together. And eventually I brought that program back to Japan, my second time living in Japan. I've lived there twice now. And so that's what I'm doing now, is converting that kind of training to online training.
That's great. What happened in the world of acting? Anything?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't pursued that. You know, I'm not in Los Angeles now. I'm living in Austin, Texas. And I looked into work here a little bit, but other things on my mind. Now, in the past, I've worked in Los Angeles. I've worked in Hollywood. I'm a member of Screen Actors Guild. And when I went to Tokyo first time in 1990, I went for 1 year, take a break from Hollywood. I wanted to get away from Hollywood because I didn't think I was an actor, but I was getting hired to be an actor. That's really strange. I went there because I went to film school up in Berkeley, California, and wanted to become filmmaker. And something curious happened. I don't understand what it was, but I got on front of the camera instead of behind the camera. Turned out to be fun, and I stayed there. So most of the time in Hollywood, Southern California, I did TV commercials, I did print work, I did training, doctor, businessman, father, that kind of thing. And eventually I took a look at that and thought, maybe I have to take a break from this. And I read a book about getting a job in Japan as an English teacher. And I thought, well, I've been in Hollywood now almost 9 years working, and I'll take a break for 1 year. And so I went to Japan in 1990, and 1 year became 10 years. And 10 years later, I came back. People didn't even know who I was anymore, but that's okay. So that's, and I worked in Japan in 1 year, less than a year teaching English. And then I moved through a student, I moved into the entertainment industry in Japan on camera, which I escaped, I thought, when I left LA, but that's not really what happened. So that's a whole special part of my life.
Is Japan different to here? You feel some different, or is same in filming, in acting?
In Japan compared to the US?
Yes, compared.
Well, you know, it's very different because in America, we have a union. You can do non-union work, or you can do Screen Actors as SAG after work, which is union work. And there are, for union jobs, there's very specific rules guiding the producers and the talent. In Japan, when you go to a job, when you go to the audition, they hire you, they set up, it's just the same kind of procedure. But when you're on the set, whether you're at television studio or out around Japan, I traveled many, many places in Japan with production crews. When you say yes to a job in Japan, there are no unions guiding how your work will, how you will work. And I was always treated well, and most of the work was really, really interesting. But when you say yes to the job in Japan, you don't say yes to only 8 hours. And everybody on the set knows that. You stay until the job is done. So you might start at 8 o'clock in the morning, and in America, you might be done at 5 o'clock, because if you go over a certain number of hours, it's called golden time, and you get paid all sorts of extra money, and the production companies don't want to pay that money. So usually you stop when you're supposed to stop to save money. But not in Japan. I have been on sets in major studios in Japan at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight. And understand, in Japan, the trains stop running at midnight. So if they're going to send you home, however far you are, they'll put you in a taxi and give you a little prepaid slip, and you might sit in a taxi for 1 hour or more going home. And if you're too far from home, they simply put you up in a hotel, and then you'll take the train the next day. It's a very different way of working, but I like both ways of working. They were both interesting.
It's another world different.
Yes, it is. It really is. And the production crews in America, like the production crews in Japan, they want to do a good job. They want to get hired again. Everybody looks forward to having a successful experience, whether it's voiceover or on camera, whether it's on location or in a TV studio. Everybody really wants the project to be a success.
That's nice to know. Tell me about your Godzilla movie experience.
My movie experience?
Yes, in Godzilla movie experience.
Oh, yes, Godzilla. Well, I was hired. Yes, I will share this with you. I don't tell this to most people because it sounds so strange. But actually, my first movie experience, I believe, was Godzilla meets Mechagodzilla versus Mechagodzilla, because it's always a conflict. And that was probably around 1993 or 94. And I was a military leader of the military forces against Godzilla. But that was interesting. And I worked with, I didn't know at the time, very well-known Japanese actors and actresses, but I didn't know that at the time. I was hired again later for another Godzilla movie. And then in not long ago, when I was in Japan, I went back a second time. I was in, and that was interesting. In 2000, I think 15 or 16, I was in another Godzilla movie. But in any event, what the experience of the first time is really interesting. Special effects were not used so frequently as they are today. And Godzilla actually was a Japanese athletic man in a very heavy rubber suit that looked like Godzilla. And I met him. And it was very interesting. He was a typical Japanese man, very thin, healthy guy. And I'm about 6'1" tall, and he was about 5'8" tall. And he had only shorts on because he sweats so much inside that suit. And I was in one studio. All of the Godzilla movies are made by Toho Studios just outside Tokyo. And I was in one studio building, and in the other studio building, one day when I was on a break, I was walking around with a cup of coffee. I always have a cup of coffee, and I walked into this other building. And what I saw was an entire mini town built on the floor of this studio building. And I looked at it. There wasn't anybody else there. I was by myself, and I looked, and the houses were no bigger than this, about 4, and it was all over this whole town. What I learned was that this is the town Godzilla was going to walk through and kick down all the houses and swish the tail. And what I learned from that was that towns all over Japan wrote to Toho Studio and said, we want to be chosen for the next city that Godzilla breaks up. Use our town. It's a whole cultural experience in Japan to be part of a Godzilla film. It was real interesting, and I enjoyed it.
That's great.
Yeah, very different.
That's very different, yes.
Not like America.
Yes. Any advice you can give those getting into the business of voiceover?
Well, yes, and I thinking, do I want to run voiceover workshops? They're very popular in LA. I would say this: it's difficult to give people general information, but I would like to share this with you. If you go back to around 2010 in America, all the radio stations across the US were starting to let go, not fire, but release their on-air talent. They were getting rid of the DJs, the disc jockeys, and they were replacing them with automatic music playing machines with voiceover clips between. So all of those disc jockeys that had been working for years on radio stations in America suddenly were out of work. And they started to look for work in voiceover. Now, one of the problems they faced as a group was they sounded like disc jockeys. And the production crews didn't want them sounding like disc jockeys. And you would hear, if I would go out for an audition for voiceover, you would hear, okay, now sound natural. Don't sound like a disc jockey, sound natural, be casual, be conversational. And that has gone on till today. So if I was starting in voiceover today, of all of the skills you can learn, how to work with a microphone and how to use the microphone as a creative tool, and maybe how to learn some extra voices you can create. So you might be able to do video games, that kind of thing. Most of the work is going to be straight delivery. And I would say practice on sounding very conversational, like you're talking to your best friend, you're talking to your dog, you're talking to your girlfriend or your boyfriend, your family member. Don't sound like you're talking like a disc jockey or like an announcer, because that's not what's being hired today in LA and New York. That's not what they're choosing. And even if you have a voice, you say, oh, my voice doesn't sound so good. Doesn't matter. You may have the perfect voice that they're looking for. Don't be afraid to use it.
Thank you for that advice. If someone wants to contact you, how?
Well, I'm not going to meet you at the
YouTube.
Yes, well, I can't meet you at Starbucks because that's not good right now with this pandemic. But if anybody has some questions, if I can advise anybody, please feel free. I have a little bit of time now, and I have a lot of experience. You can contact me, and my email is through my website, tom@tomjdolan, DOLAN.com, tom@tomjdolan.com. And I will answer your emails as quickly as I can. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to help people get started.
Tom, thank you for being in the Mary Cullen Show. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me, Mary. Good luck with this season of your shows. I think you'll do very well, and I enjoyed participating. Thanks. And stay healthy.
You too.
Thank you, I will.
Okay. Gracias a mis patrocinadores, Ruby Granados Accesorios, Red Bull Austin, Texas, a My Fashion Designs, Mary Cullen Apparel de Chana Collection, Italy, y al director y productor de la programadora, François La Rosa, of Star Film Production. Gracias a todos ustedes por hacer que esto suceda. Los amo.